welcome back. So, last video you saw me pick up this lovely clean engine from Levin and give this Beams engine a bit of a break for a couple of weeks while I try and get the blue sleeker going, because I'm on a bit of a time frame to get that done and I'm still waiting for parts for the Beams engine, so we have a good opportunity here. So today's goal is take the head off the block, which should actually be quite easy because you can actually see the head studs right there and there all along the sides there, so I don't need to take the cams off, which is pretty good. And then I'm going to check this oil pump here, and I might be able to take it off and use the GTE one. It just depends on which one is better and has the bigger coin on the inside, and I'm going to go for the better one, obviously. So let's get started. Alright, so I've just taken the girdle and the oil pan off, and I'm just going to say I'm really glad I did. That's rust along the windage tray there and a little bit on the oil pickup just on the sides there. That's kind of neither here nor there, although I would obviously prefer to have no rust. This bolt's loose. That wasn't me, that was like that. So you can see that that kind of just moves like that. Hasn't been properly torqued down, and I'm also missing a bolt there and there. So it's not a great start, but at least I know that I can trust myself when it comes to taking these engines apart. I had a feeling that I should, and I did, and I'm glad about it. Unfortunately, the girdle is also a little bit broken. So this is it here, and if I turn it over, there's actually like pieces there that go along there like that. Say for example, this one here has this big semicircle that kind of becomes part of the bell housing, and it's not on this one when I know that it is actually meant to be. Unfortunately, I can't use... Do you mind? Unfortunately, I can't use this girdle on that block because something doesn't quite fit up or quite right. But I can probably find myself another 3rd gen 3sge girdle, but unfortunately it means I probably won't have one of these -10 or -12 fittings for a turbo return line. So all up, it's a little bit disappointing, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this windage tray and the oil pickup off, check the entire rotating assembly, make sure that's okay, and then I'm going to see if I can take that oil pump off as well, and see if I can actually swap it out for a 3sge+T one. As for the block, it actually looks alright as well. So there's a little bit of like weird thing going on there, but otherwise it looks alright. So it's actually been skimmed, so they get like a bunch of balls and I put it on this drill and they kind of go around in the bore and stuff.
That's what she said!
And then the pistons look alright, so they've been cleaned. Yeah, it actually looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is take the rods and pistons out, and I'm going to take the crankshaft out, and then I'm going to double check the piston ring clearances against their respective cylinder walls and see if the gaps in the rings will actually be good enough to use. So as you see here, I can confirm that he definitely did get new bearings for it and they look pretty good. I might just take them off and just clean them up a little bit more and then put them back in with some fresh lubricant, and that way I can actually get that crankshaft sorted out. There's a couple of spots of rust on that crankshaft that I want to get looked at. I might just need to get it polished, but otherwise it's actually pretty good to use. So I have gone ahead and taken the liberty of putting the first 3 pistons and rods back into the engine. I've also, obviously because of the pistons and rods being in, I've also put the crankshaft back in, and it looks a little bit oily, but it's better to be too oily than not oily enough at this stage.
Come on.
But while we're here, I'd like to share 2 things quickly. So the first thing is that this is a Gen 2 rod. So this is from an MR2 turbo, and this is a Gen 3 rod, also from an MR2 turbo, but obviously different generations. And you can actually see the thickness difference. It's not hugely obvious. Unfortunately, I can't do that, but obviously like this rod covers the entire other one pretty much. So these are the stronger ones, but they're also heavier and bulkier, which means that their RPM limit is lower. So these are the ones I'm using in the beams, but these are the ones I'll be using for this build because my RPM limit will be just a stock OEM RPM limit. The other thing I will mention too quickly is I checked all the piston ring gaps, and although they are slightly bigger than I wanted them to be, it just means that I might suffer a tiny bit of blow-by, but they are brand new rings and they shouldn't wear out. And it would take probably quite a long time and a lot of abuse for blow-by to actually happen in this engine eventually, because it is being rebuilt with fresh seals and gaskets and stuff, so yeah. Also, while I'm here quickly, this engine does have oil squirters, when a lot of people think that they don't, but they very much do. Actually, you want to come take a look at this and point the camera in there. So you see that right there? That's an oil squirter, and yeah, it just misses the crankshaft. Just like that, those little pistons in the block. And just like the main caps, these rod caps are also torqued to 43 foot-pounds. So here is a little bit of an update quickly. I have managed to make the Gen 5 3sge+T oil pump work, which is essentially the same as a Gen 4 one. I've also got the Gen 5 3sge+T oil pickup, baffle tray and rear main seal. As for the gasket for the rear main seal, I had to actually steal the gasket from the beams block, so I had to replace that again, just because that's sidelined for now while I'm waiting for parts. But as I said in the last video, this should go pretty quickly, which surprisingly it is. I was originally unsure if I was able to use the oil pump because of how the girdle works with it and stuff, but I actually managed to take this oil pump and actually grind off the back of it a tiny bit so it would fit in the block. I don't actually know if that was necessary, but I mean, better safe than sorry, and now it works, and I'm happy. And I know for a fact that I have torqued all this down, so here goes nothing. So this is my new head gasket from Toyota. This is a genuine one, so big shout out to Lincoln from Toyota Masterton for helping suss this out for me, much appreciated. Apparently I had the last one in the country. Alright, head on block, take one, and action. Yeah, I think you did. Nice. Why is it down there? It is now the next day after the last footage you've just seen. I have already gone ahead and torqued down the head studs, and I just used my torque wrench obviously, and I had to buy a 12mm long socket, and I had to grind it down, as you can see if the camera would like to focus. There it is. So I had to grind it down all the way around just for it to fit in. And if you are using ARP head studs, it's this kind of bit that you want. So you don't want it to be like a typical hexagonal or octagon piece or whatever it is. You actually want like a special star piece like this. Also, because I am using ARP head studs, it does say to torque them down in 3 equal steps to 60 foot-pounds. So you start off with 20, then 40, then 60, and that's exactly what I have already gone and done. Anyway, we're actually pretty close to completing the engine now, and I did pick up some more of this gasket maker today. The stuff is kind of hell to work with, but it does work really well once it's on the actual parts where you need it. So this is a good stuff. You can buy this from Super Cheap Auto for about $20, $25 or something like that, depending on if they have a sale or not. But yeah, good stuff. Moving on, we are officially ready to put the head back together. So I need to put like these special bucket shim things that are kind of sitting along that bench on that paper towel over there. So I need to put all these back in their correct order, and then I also need to put the cams on and then put the cam caps down. Nice. That's a lot better. See that garage door now. Yeah. Nice. So one more update just before I finish the video off. I have gone ahead and put the cam gears on, and they're actually sealed up with cam seals that seal the camshaft to the cam cap. So those are all done on the inside there with grease and everything. And I've also gone ahead and put on my 3sge 700cc injectors, which are the purple things you see there. And then I've got my fuel rail and intake manifold on. I'm not actually going to put on my turbo manifold yet until the engine is actually at James's mum's house. And that is partially because that's the way it's just going to fit in the back of the car or whatever I'm going to use to try and get it over the hill. But also I have to run some water pump lines across the block along here, and I've also got the hose from hell, the oil cooler, that go around here as well. So there's a couple more things to put on the side of the block, but we're getting pretty close, guys. My estimate is that I can have this engine running by the end of May. So not long to go now, but we're pretty much on schedule. Anyway, that's going to be it for this week's video. Very happy with the progress so far. So I've come a long way with this engine. Still got a little bit to go, and it's just going to be little bits here and there that are just going to be able to actually finish the engine and get it running. So fingers crossed everything works out. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.